My name is Sir Engineer Gaziatwe. Today I want to discuss why Toyota engines burn oil. Most Toyota users, one of their greatest nightmares is their engine burning oil. Any small travel, they will having oil shortage. And there are some Toyota engines, it's not all, there are some Toyota engines that are notorious for that burning of oil, especially these 2AZ engines. The engines in something like Camry, 4Runner, RAV4, Matrix, Tacoma, Land Cruiser, FJ Cruiser, Highlander, Sequoia, Tundra, Yaris, and the others. All those vehicles produced within that 2006 to 2009. They are the ones notorious for those things. Now, why do this thing happen? Why do they burn oil? That thing, if your vehicle always burn oil, you don't need to worry yourself. It's not your fault. So don't let that thing bother you much. It's not your fault. It's a factory problem. Why is it like that? Toyota, in a quest to make things cheap, economize costs, and all these things, they made their engine in a certain way with more of a softer ring, low tension ring. Unlike before, during the olden days, when engine blocks are more of metal or iron cast, the rings on the piston are more of high tension rings. But in order to minimize costs, Toyota now made these engines with low tension rings. What do I mean by low tension rings? You see that piston, those rings around that piston. Any piston you see now, you normally have about 1, 2, 3 rings there. The first two are for compression, while the last is called oil ring, oil control. That one is the one that regulates the oil flow from the crankcase down to the upper chamber and down back. Now, because Toyota made this thing with low tension rings, as those rings are there, as they are working, you know where that small gutter, the pressure where those rings are sitting, is what we call the ring line. So as those rings are sitting on those ring line, as the engine is working, those rings, they can contract, expand, they can contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, expand. So what makes them burn oil? There are about 3 major things that make them burn oil. One, either because of the low tension ring, because it's soft, most time it doesn't withstand or stop oil flow up and down, or maybe oil leakage. It doesn't grip fin to the body of the engine block. That one is one. Number two, there are cases when those rings will get seized up. What will make them seize up? As they are working, sludge from engine maybe will be entering, blocking the surface of that ring line. As they are blocking the surface, then you see that ring that used to be straight, it will start coming out, it will start protruding. At a stage, as it's protruding, we'll be making contact. As it's making contact with the wall of the engine block, it's making contact, contrasting, making contact. Some of those sludge will still be forming at the body of that engine block. Because it's a low tension ring, it cannot be able to scrape them off. So by then, the engine will start to burn oil, short oil, gradually, small. Then on that one, if you fail to control it that time, it will now enter the major stage, the most dangerous stage, which is when that's oil, the rings will get stuck permanently due to those sludge. Those sludge that have formed at the ring line, they will now bind that rings steady at the piston. It cannot move again at that. So once it's binded, once it has done that through the inner side, the ring will now protrude. But then we start scraping the wall of the engine block. We scrape off all those older sludge that have formed there before. We scrape them off. But immediately you scrape them off, there will now be allowance. When all you move from the lower crankcase up, you'll be moving freely. The ring will be moving freely. The engine will start losing compression. Then all you will start burning. And if it doesn't do that way, because it has protruded, it will prevent when all you go up to the crankcase, because it has hold the body of the block together. When all you go up, you find it difficult to come back to that crankcase. You will now stay at the combustion chamber. You will burn it for. Now, most people will tell you, my engine is shorting oil and I cannot see any trace of oil burn. You cannot see any trace. Even if you check around, you cannot see any trace because it's burning inside the combustion chamber. Then some people will tell you, if it's burning, why am I not seeing maybe bluish smoke from my exhaust? You cannot see it. If you have a good catalyst, that's the work of the catalyst. The catalyst will be collecting all those smoke, binding them. It's only when you bring out the catalyst that you see all those debris where they fall. Now, how do we control this? What are the causes? The causes is one, irregular changing of engine oil and the using of fake engine oil, low quality oil. If you are using low quality oil, you are giving, especially this mineral oil, you are giving the engine room to form sludge, and those sludge are what create those, expand those or bind those rings. Instead of using a very expensive oil and use oil in an engine for years or months, it's better you use cheaper oil and be changing your oil regularly. Instead of using expensive oil and stay for long before you change oil, it's better for you to use a cheaper oil and have constant regular oil change. In that case, their engine oil will always be free. It cannot have very room for sludge. Because all this oil now, if you want to be sure, when you now do an oil change, when you drive that vehicle around 1,000 to 1,200 kilometers, that's when you start noticing this shortage of oil. And by then you will start saying, this vehicle, immediately anytime I travel with it, come back, oil will short. It's not because of that travel, it's because of the distance that oil have stayed in that your engine. From 1,000, 1,200 kilometers, the oil has started losing viscosity of this thing. So you start experiencing that burn. So if I were you, if you notice this thing that your engine is burning oil, the best option for you, start doing oil change regularly. Or maybe once in a while, pour all this engine flush. Put engine flush out this. Engine flush will enter inside, penetrate inside those rings, weaken those debris, those sludge. You flush them out before you now put your oil in. That one help. But if you want to be using engine flush, don't use it too much. If you start using it too regularly, the engine flush will start attacking most of your oil seals. Then you will start having leakage of oil there. So this is why it happens. So when you're experiencing such, don't feel bad. It's not your fault. But this thing I just gave you is the solution to it. Thank you very much.